All right, here we go. Okay, hello everybody. This is the Stephen D. Kelley Show. It's July 30th, 2020. Interesting. It just turned 6 p.m. where I'm at. And I want to thank you for being here. I noticed a few of you are here, so that tells me that you're getting used to the time thing. And I guess we're going to continue with this 6 p.m. my time, 9 p.m. Eastern time for the time being. Anyway, I want to welcome you all here, and before I go too further, I'm going to give you a title, but I've decided to call tonight's show Occupy the Getty, a movement for, I didn't want to say world peace, but for saving the world, saving the entire world, something of this nature, for saving the world. So I'm focusing, of course, on that, the Getty. This is obviously the only thing that really matters anymore because, you know, as I keep saying, everything else is secondary, and that ultimately this is the one thing that solves it. And as I've also said last week, we are picking up quite a bit of momentum. So I think it's important for us to discuss openly for the benefit of the listeners as well as the listeners, that they know what we're going to be doing. And the one thing that's really encouraging is that the amount of people who are beginning to start blogs, podcasts, they're creating pages on Facebook and social media, different types of social media, and they're naming these pages things like Save the Children Under the Getty and, well, several things like that. Now, I will report right away that several of the people who have created new sites, or not sites, but fan pages on Facebook, if you will, groups dedicated to myself primarily as an alternative or a source for people to try to keep some connection and follow me. That's several of those have been shut down. All right, listen, before I go too far, I want to do something a little unorthodox. Well, that's a play on words. But somebody made a suggestion that I do this, and I think it might be a good idea. At least this time, we're going to do this. And again, this is also for the benefit of the listeners as well as the listeners. But we're going to do a little prayer, okay? And I don't do this very often, you know. I usually have Diane or somebody. Hi, Diane, I know you're out there doing it for me. But at the same time, we do have a lot of people that are saying that we need to do some meditation, we need to do group prayers, group meditation, all these things. And they're suggesting, why don't you do this? Why don't you lead that? And of course, listeners are listening to this stuff all at different times. But at the same time, you know that the power of intention is pretty strong right now. So putting this down, putting it out there it can't hurt, at least from the standpoint of the potential for having an effect continuously from this point on. So let me just go ahead and do that. Dear Lord, thank you for letting us be here at this time so that we can be involved in this great mission. Thank you for continuing to provide us with the protection and the strength and the skills and the tools and the help that we need to perform this mission, to complete this mission. And if anything, Lord, we ask that you would help us to complete this mission as quickly as possible for the greater glory of yourself as well as the Creator. Thank you. That's it. Now, obviously, of course, I'm trying to reaffirm that anybody involved in this effort is protected. retroactively in advance. And we don't ask for this. We say thank you for continuing to do it. All right, that aside. So back to the Getty mission. A lot of you that have started these pages, or some of you, I'm starting to notice that there's a certain amount of confidence beginning to fester. And this is a good thing, because I think what's happening is a lot of you are realizing that after all this time, you've heard the message, you've dealt with the detractors, and you've certainly been putting out an effort for some time now to educate people about this issue. Well, conveniently, as the COVID hysteria seems to fade, and reality starts to set in about the true nature of the exercise that we've been put through, I think that many people are starting to realize that all this time, the pedophilia issue is not being addressed. And I've seen it said now, and of course this was presented in a partisan way. It was being presented towards the liberals as if the liberals were the only ones that couldn't understand this. And that is, if they have the resources to track you and to do all this nonsense to find out who has been tested for COVID and all that, they certainly should also have the resources and the ability to eliminate the pedophiles. And if they had the resources and the motivation to cleanse the internet of dissenting voices regarding this particular issue, several videos that have been removed, such as the ones about the doctors talking about the oxycloakial or whatever that stuff is called. So there's been a lot of examples of censorship. Obviously, Truth Cat and myself have been very visible victims of this censorship. But I think that, if anything, I think that it's inspired you people to do more, and and those of you that have had your pages shut down, you've had a little bit of setback, you know a little bit about what I go through. Now, what I want to suggest to everybody listening here, one of the quickest things that you can do to become a true pest for the enemy, those of you that have taken the time to create a page on Facebook, either you've got personal pages, you've got groups, and you have fan pages. There's quite a few different categories of pages and things that you can create. And the thing about Facebook is that they do have a limit on the number of these pages that you can create. Now, of course, the Stephen Kelley profile, the John Elias profile, as well as, I don't know if RD's made any, but between the multiple profiles that I've had, I've made quite a few pages. And I think the limit is something like 40. But the point I'm trying to make is that the effort that has been made over the years and the effort that's being made now is having a significant effect. And it's not going away, just like the pedophilia issue is not going away, Pedogate is not going away, Pizzagate is not going away, and certainly Occupy the Getty is not going away. So what I want you people to do, especially those of you that have already done it, you've seen what happens when they take your page down, do it again. Keep doing it. Make more. Saturate it. If every one of you made these pages and you created like 20 different pages of various Getty-related, Stephen D. Kelley-related, whatever content, even if nobody joined it, even if you have no time to maintain it, even if it seems redundant and petty, do it anyway. Because you can. And because if enough people do it, you'll saturate the internet with this stuff. That's a very simple thing to do. Now, if you think you don't have the time or all that, you could do this all in one evening. And if you collect the images, enough images, I'm sure you can learn a little bit of Photoshop, whatever necessary to get some pretty decent artwork up there and make something that is actually will attract people. But again, if you all do it on top of what you're doing now, that's just one new way. Now, of course, a lot of you are dealing in media that I'm not involved in as of yet, or at least I need to be involved in. That's all great. And I know a lot of you are needing my help, but at the same time, fortunately, a lot of you are becoming a little more independent, and you're realizing that you've got all the data, everything that you need. So this is great. I love that attitude. I wish you guys would, more of you would get that, because I'm still in kind of a recovery mode, if you will. I'm not really, it's almost like the way I see it. You people, all of you, you know, some of you, of course, work harder than others, but, and even those of you that haven't been involved in this fight at all, sometimes you need a wake-up call, and you need a minor catastrophe or something to jar you out of complacency or to give you even greater sense of urgency. So, in a way, this is kind of like the art of war. It's like a false flag, if you will. A false flag is actually something that the enemy does that causes the people to become renewed and motivated to fight even harder and to vanquish the enemy. So, in the true sense of a false flag, my faltering with respect to leadership or motivation to continue the fight serve that purpose, to light a fire under you guys. Now, as encouraging as that is, we do need more. Even though we are moving forward and we are seemingly on the verge of winning this battle, we have to push it over the edge. And we have to use every tool that we have, because the enemy is certainly pulling out all the stops. So that's the first thing I'm going to recommend, okay? So I know a lot of you are very proud of the page or two that you might have created. Well, guess what? Now, it's difficult to remove it. Once you've created it, it takes a little while to actually remove a page. Let's say you make something and you're like, oh, I got to get rid of this. It takes a couple months because they'll actually have like a 30-day period where they say, are you sure you want to get rid of this? And they'll say, we're going to let you think it over for a little while before we completely delete it for you. They do stuff like that. But those of you keyboard warriors, pound those things out. Now, you don't necessarily have to share every single one of them in the QAnon page, but you got to get them out there, and you got to get them on your pages, and you got to network with all the people that you know. I mean, you've got your own page, but see, for instance, those of you that are connected, I know that there's a lot of you in the QAnon group that interact with each other. You can almost start a group just to help you do that, your own group, just for that. Okay, that's part of the mission of these different groups. The desire to create a billboard certainly is still out there, and the desire to get people to actually physically converge on the property, all of that is still out there. But first, we need to get we need to continue to take advantage of this momentum that seems to be happening right now, because enough of you out there are making comments and posting Occupy the Getty in key places on Twitter, whatever, on Trump speeches. If you ever see Trump going live, spam it with Occupy the Getty. We need to put this in their face so often that it becomes a painful nuisance. The other thing, and this is a reiteration, of course, of the 3D, 4D show, but almost everything that we've achieved so far, at least certainly it's a trade-off, because the work that we did in the 3D allowed us to get the notoriety enough and the strong enough voice to actually attract enough people to the cause that we could recruit Jedi and do the work that we do on the 4D. But we have come to the point now to where our work in the 3D needs to catch up, as I've said in the last show. So one of the things that we need to do, at least focus on as far as our message is concerned, is that people need to realize that these bunkers, the one under the Getty and the one underneath all these places, but we'll start with the one under the Getty, are not part of the United States, technically. Yes, they were built by these agencies and they're built with our money, but from the standpoint of jurisdiction and sovereign control, there is none as far as the government that is running the political or government body on the surface, just above it. So if you realize that this is a rogue entity, Henry's probably chasing a poor kitty that wants food up. Poor thing. You could very easily say that this is a worldwide threat, certainly, and that this is one that should include everybody. So if we can look for opportunities and avenues to expand the group of people that might be interested in, certainly the pedophilia issue should be something that affects everyone and something that is a worldwide is condemned worldwide. But what we need to show is that children from all of these war-torn countries, historically and to this day, are still being brought to this facility. It's not just American children that are being captured, kidnapped. The consumption is so high that they are actually having to outsource and import from war zones and other continents, such as Asia and Africa. All right, obviously these things go over borders, and they certainly, the infection that we're dealing with is infecting every country. I wanted to talk a little bit about China tonight. I don't know if I will. I kind of, other than the Getty update and what we need to do, I did, of course, need to talk about some of what's going on with Trump, of course, and the election, which seems to be, he's actually publicly now saying that they need to delay it, which is wild considering that we've been saying now for quite some time that there will be no election. So that is becoming manifest. But there's also, well, I guess let's just dive into this. Okay, first of all, one of the most bizarre things that's going on right now, like I said, was the group of doctors that got up on the steps of the Capitol and basically expounded on the benefits of this, the drug, the same one that Trump said was the thing to take to cure this COVID. Now, I take everything with a grain of salt. Certainly, this anti-malarial drug that they're pushing, I believe, will probably come with some sort of negative consequence eventually. However, this group of doctors that was assembled seemed to be legitimate, and they seem to be well-spoken, and they certainly seem to have some valid experience with prescribing and treating people with this drug that is so questionable right now that the internet is being scrubbed of any mention of it. Well, in particular, there was this one particular doctor, I believe a West African woman, who was treating people in a clinic that apparently was predominantly of West African clientele, and at the same time, she herself apparently, as they, allegedly got her doctor's degree, her medical degree from an institution located in West Africa. Again, that seems like something that most people would consider a negative. Well, I watched the video, and everything that she said and everything the rest of them said seemed to be very logical and seemed to be valid. And the very fact that they were able to get up there and do that without anybody hauling them away for fraud would suggest to me that they are legitimate medical personnel who are actually treating people on the front lines and having a great deal of success using this controversial drug. Well, I saw a picture of Joe Biden, who amazingly enough seems to be poised to beat Trump in the election if they should have one, with his hand on his head, having a duh moment, and the caption was something like Biden reacts to Trump's tweet or Trump's tweeting information put out by this crazy woman. And I assume they're talking about this doctor, and Trump saying, hey, look, he's sharing this video that so many of us are sharing and seeing. So this is bizarre to me because obviously, again, there's that dual polarity. I don't trust Trump, but at the same time, he's been pushing this thing pretty hard from day one. And now we have these group of doctors who come out and said that they're actually treating numerous people with very positive results. And they're being attacked and ridiculed by the enemy. Now, I'm not saying that Trump is not the enemy, but at the same time, the people who are ridiculing these doctors certainly are. So of course, this is a very confusing thing. But at the same time, it would appear to, at the very least, be blunting the imminent use of the vaccine, even though we pretty much know this is a done deal. As we see more and more people coming out and saying this is unnecessary, the cure is simple, it's effective, and it's readily available. This is this could disrupt the situation. The same thing with the election. So the future has a lot to do. It's based on whether or not Trump will be able to roll out his warp speed vaccination program with the help of the military, and it certainly seems to be well, let's just say it seems to be moving forward, no problem. Now, the Russians have also come out and said that they plan to produce a vaccine of their own that they will have available before the United States, which is interesting when you consider that you would think the Russians might be a little more progressive when it comes to vaccine safety. But so again, this is very curious. And I think most of all, though, at least from our standpoint, I like to think that as the public is becoming disillusioned with the efforts of Trump with respect to this COVID, and as the public becomes fatigued and disillusioned with the entire government response and the general response of society to the entire issue, the cracks are certainly there. And again, more and more people are coming forward and becoming more motivated to push the pedophilia issue. And fortunately, we're very well poised to take advantage of that. So I think that when you get down to it, I think that our efforts to put more attention on the Occupy the Getty movement and the crimes will allow us to perhaps stall and maybe even ultimately defeat these draconian efforts that are being foisted upon us right now, i.e. Jared Kushner and the Mark of the Beast and everything else. So I'm becoming more firmly convinced that we will have to go through some sort of a 4D experience. And I'm thinking that we will have to do this together. I don't think there will be eventually a separation of the service to self and the service to other types. But for the moment, it certainly would appear that it's up to all of us to change the timeline and make sure that what we're going into is not the negative experience that we're trying to be forced into having with our scripture and everything else, the so-called Armageddon. I really think that we could somehow skirt this thing if I play our cards right. If we play our cards right. And obviously, the Getty is our card. I could come up with all kinds of card analogies. The Getty is the house of cards. It's the weak link in the house of cards. That was my original analogy. I think that was a really bad mixed. Was that a mixed metaphor? The weak link in the house of cards. Yeah. Anyway, okay. I'm going to talk about China a little bit. I know this is a bit off, but for whatever reason, I've been forced to absorb ridiculous amounts of information about the Chinese culture, especially the contemporary Chinese culture and what's going on right there financially and what have you. And I was hoping to actually get some people that might even be able to maybe have a show where I can talk about that. And I know this seems like a departure from what's really important, but I do think it's important for a lot of reasons, at least as far as the future is concerned. Because of and again, I'm trying not to be negative and polarizing, but the Bolshevik experiment, and especially the Bolshevist influence and the Marxist influence that took place in China, basically ruined that country and turned several generations into extremely greedy, godless people. I'm sure there's lots of good people over there, but for the most part, they're very indicative of the worst parts of our society, at least when it comes to greed and selfishness. Now, obviously, because of the communist upbringing and the fact that the Maoist purges removed so many millions of intellectuals and religious types, and so much of their culture was just outright destroyed. The godless thing is pretty common. And unfortunately, our country reflects that too in many ways. And a lot of people think that they are somehow fulfilling their obligations to stay out of hell because society tells them that it's okay to have certain habits and compromises that don't violate what we would normally consider the wrong thing to do. Well, the point is that the United States, of course, had quite a bit to do with putting China where it is today. And of course, this goes back to Richard Nixon, I believe it was, who granted China the most favored nation, or the most favored nation trading status. And basically, that's when the money started rolling in and made them as wealthy as they are today. But the point is that with their 1.5 billion people, or whatever it is, they all want to have a middle-class standard of living. When I say middle-class standard of living, I'm talking a California lifestyle, not a Midwestern USA lifestyle, but suburban California urban lifestyle. Now, that's not cheap, and you just can't do that with that many people. And in order for that to happen, you would have to decimate the resources of the entire world. Now you could say, well, the United States, they do that already, but well, it's a little bit different. There's a few more people, and let me see. There's a word for that. It's funny because, but what about? That's what they call it. It's the but what about. When you tell somebody something, and they say, oh yeah, well, what about this? What about that? Now, if somebody comes to you and that's the best defense they have, but what about this and what about that? Right away, they've conceded defeat. Now, the thing is that obviously our society, our warlike society, needs to have a boogeyman. And whether you know it or not, our system, our Western system, and our dominance, our white European, whatever you want to call it, most of your Bilderbergers, that's what they are. They can't tolerate this new China. It just can't be done. Now, I've been trying to tell you for the longest time that ultimately they were planning to kill most of the Chinese people off, something like 3/5 of all the Chinese people in the world, which of course would set them back to the point where they wouldn't have this, we wouldn't be having these issues with them. Now, the United States has suffered something like a 30%, possibly 33% loss or fall, economic, sustained that much of a loss in our economy as a result of the ongoing COVID fiasco. Now, the thing about China, certainly they're being affected by this, and obviously what affects the United States affects China because we buy their products. And obviously the inability for China to expeditiously ship their product to the United States in a way that they're used to is going to compound this problem. And obviously because of COVID, that was one of the first things that happened. That, and of course, nobody from China was allowed to travel to the United States. So, and then you've got Trump, of course, calling this the Chinese virus, which is ridiculous. I prefer Wuhan virus, but I don't particularly blame this on China. I think obviously we did that. We did this over there for the same reason that we did this in the Ukraine. But yes, we did do this in the Ukraine once before also. And I think those same people were involved in this outbreak also. But we do need to kill off all these Chinese. Now, the economic hit that China is going to have, or at least is having right now, is probably, when it comes to attrition, will probably hurt the Chinese more than it will hurt the United States. And that's because even though the Chinese are incredibly wealthy, much of that wealth is speculative, and it's invested in speculative real estate in China, which is worthless. It's not like investing, buying real estate in, say, Manhattan. And so what's happening is that there's a building boom going on over there because they have to provide property or potential investment for these investors. But the speculation and the value added part of the concept is it's basically ruining the country. It's not going. The only thing that's propping it up right now is the propaganda and the fact that the Chinese Communist Party is controlling the entire process. Now that's why something like this loss of revenue is going to cause problems. Another thing that's a big problem is Xi, the current premier over there, whatever you want to call him, the head of the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, he's been basically a god over there for the last 20, 30 years because he was the one that was spearheading this unadulterated Rothschild-style capitalism that's taken over the country. Now, one of the other things that he did was when he was beginning his rise to power, he had a campaign to purge corruption from the government. And he removed something like 1.5 million people from the positions of power in the Communist Party. And when I say removed, I'm sure that was probably an unpleasant experience for those people. But obviously, when he did that, I'm sure he removed a lot of corrupt people because basically they're all corrupt. But what he did was he removed anybody that would have given him any kind of a threat. That would have been a sort of a threat to his power. Well, what's happening right now is this is starting to pop back up again. And in case you didn't know it, the entire Chinese military, the People's Army, is not the Chinese army. They don't fight for China. They fight for the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. So that means that the head of the Chinese Communist Party is the de facto commander-in-chief of the People's Army. This is pretty significant because what that means is that the real enemy over there is going to be his competitors within the Communist Party, and we're seeing this happen right now. Another big indicator that there's a major problem going on over there, at least with the ability to respond to any kind of a threat, is what's happening in the South China Sea. For quite a while, China has been going out there in the Spratly Islands, which is basically a bunch of atolls out in the middle of the ocean there between the Philippines and Malaysia and Vietnam and all that. And they've been going in there and dredging and building airstrips and little bases, complete with missiles and what have you, all over the place within the South China Sea. And then they're declaring a 200-mile zone around these things, a sovereign, like every time they do this, they think they're expanding the border of China. Well, suddenly, the United States has adopted a stronger attitude. I'm going to suggest this is because of Trump. But what they've done, for whatever reason, they've gotten a little more ballsy, is they've declared the right to be the de facto policeman on behalf of all of those countries involved. Now, originally it was just the Philippines, because certainly the United States has a relationship with the Philippines, but we do not have such a relationship with Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, trying to think of other countries that might be affected by this, but the point is that because of the fact that like Vietnam was a former enemy and all that, we had no interest in doing that. Well, this has changed. The other thing that's changed is the Philippines have granted the United States permission to go out in those very same islands off the coast of the Philippines, right where the Chinese are building their islands, and allowing the United States to build their own island base out there. So now China has talked a lot of crap about what they were going to do if we were belligerent and we sailed our Navy around those places. But, we've been doing this for quite a while. We've been sailing our Navy back and forth for quite a while. And just recently, Trump did an exercise where they were sending B-52 bombers or what have you over the general area too. So, of course, this is very provocative. And whether or not this is strategic and ultimately means anything, it's hard to say. But at the very least, it is certainly represents a rollback with respect to China. So I think that we're going to see that this the COVID issue, as I've always said all along, even though the United States is reporting high numbers of death that they're attributing to COVID, I of course don't believe that. I think any cause of death they're going to call it COVID at this point, just to have these crazy numbers. But I suspect that China, of course, being China, has lied about how many people have actually died, and has probably done horrendous measures to control the public and blockade cities and poison people in an effort to try to eradicate this so-called pandemic. So the damage is yet to be seen, but I think that it will become evident very soon. I think last Christmas was definitely an eye-opener when the shelves of the electronics stores and the retailers that would normally be fully stocked with goods fresh off the boat from China, that wasn't there this year. Now, I don't see how the companies that are involved in that could sustain such a loss. And now here we are going through the same thing, even worse with the COVID thing. Of course, there are some people making money. Obviously, Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and the other idiot, the bald guy. What's his name? You know, eBay guy, the rich dude. It's better if I don't remember his name. It's more of an insult to him. But these guys are making huge amounts of money. Since all this started, their fortunes went up something like $115 billion. Well, it's perfectly logical for that, of course, because so many people are not shopping. We're all buying online. So certainly, yeah, we're going to use eBay, and we're going to use our PayPal. So yeah, there's that's why they're making all that money. And of course, Facebook, well, I don't know, I guess everybody's on Facebook, so you guys are somehow responding to Facebook advertising and buying the product using your PayPal, but whatever, they're making the money. Now, I'm not saying that's bad, but certainly our economy, like the Chinese, I don't know how much of our economy can survive a complete collapse of the Chinese economy, because obviously so much of our retail now is dependent on that. But I think the Americans will certainly come out on top of this. But at the same time, the radical change that needs to happen is so far beyond the quasi-radical change that you would experience if you couldn't go buy Chinese goods at Walmart anymore. So in other words, when the time comes that we are able to occupy the Getty and take advantage of this discontent and this energy, I think that it's going to lead to a society in the future that will it's just going to be so much better than this thing that we're trying to give up, or the thing that we're being forced to give up, or being inconvenienced by being deprived of, if that makes any sense to you all. So in other words, I welcome this. You know, sure, I don't like it when they can't go out and do things and get fed properly, and I'm really over this whole stupid masks thing. I do recommend you guys get oxygen if you haven't figured that out yet. I know a lot of you are doing it. Go to your sporting goods store, wherever it is, or go online and buy the Boost canned Aviators oxygen. It certainly could be your life. It could be a lifesaver for you and your family, seeing as that most of these things that we're being faced with right now do seem to be respiratory related. And I would suspect that the more they try to tell you that wearing a mask is good for you, the more they're trying to deprive your body and your brain of oxygen. So make an effort to get more of it. All right, let's see, we're only 44 minutes. We're going to have an early show tonight. I'll take a little break now, and then I'll bring in whoever I know. Maybe if Silly Bob's out there, he can be good and make sure his sound is all good and all that, because I know some people. I saw this one post that somebody made on YouTube. They say, "Gotta love Bob." Oh, by the way, here's another thing. You know, I've noticed that I've been watching some of these silly YouTube videos. One of the first things they say before they even start talking is they say, "Please subscribe, please hit the like button, and please hit whatever." They got something else, announcements or something like that. So I would say the same thing. I will say this, though, that our little channel here, the YouTube or the Truth Cat Radio station here on YouTube, is growing. We're something up to 9,000 something. We'll probably hit 10,000 people. I know that doesn't sound like a lot by YouTube standards, but the point is that this month, the last 28 days, everything has increased. And I reported this last week, but that trend is continuing. And that trend is more people are watching the videos. People are watching the videos for longer periods of time. And more people are subscribing to the station or the page, whatever you want to call it. So these are all very positive things. And, of course, these are only indicators of the increase in the interest for Occupy the Getty. And, of course, anyone that pursues this Occupy the Getty business will come back to me. And, of course, I've given out quite a few free books, and I'll just remind everybody once again before we go into break that if you have not read the book, it doesn't cost you anything. It's only like a couple hundred pages. It's an easy read. You might enjoy it. All you have to do is send me an email, law17gun@AOL.com. Okay, that's law17gun@AOL.com. And I'm just going to remind everybody I'm not on Facebook anymore, but I am using RD's profile to view what's going on in the Facebook. Oh, by the way, Richard, if you're listening, Carrie, I need you to contact me because one of the pages you're an admin in, and I need you to make me an admin, or RD. He's like a mod. All right. So if you can do that for me, I'd appreciate it. I think that's a Truth Cat page. Or Truth Cats, I think it is the group. Either way, do that for me, please. With that, we're going to go ahead and take a break if you don't mind. All right. See you on the flip side. Every birthday hits the corner, what?
Every bucket. I mean, every 10 bucks.
Oh, buck. Okay, I thought it sounded like a basketball reference or something like that.
Oh, yeah, every 10 bucks.
Interesting.
That help us around the corner. Or get around the corner.
Wouldn't that be something, huh? Of course,
yes.
Unfortunately, we're not in the money business, but if we were, maybe we'd be more successful. Oh well.
I don't know. Sometimes I find some people that pay $300 for 1 hour.
For what? Oh, do you mean like to watch some?
I know, it's like amazing.
Well, it's all about value. But to see, that's the thing I'm trying to say is that if you're going to lose something, suddenly it has more value. And if you think people that are thinking, oh, this guy sounds like he's giving up, he's not going to be around. You may go. They think that I'm not going to be around, and suddenly it has more value, and they're more motivated, and that should increase certainly. Anyway, that's all.
Yeah, super.
Anyway, all right. Well, let me go on here. I just want to remind people of a few things here. You can go ahead and mute. I'm going to see if I can bring other people in here too. But a lot of you are getting a lot braver when it comes to answering questions and standing up to the detractors when it comes to discussing the whole Getty issue and the various facts involved. Obviously everything attributed to what I say. Now, what I need you guys to do, whether this seems like something that is easy or not, is I need you to think more like attorneys, and I need you to draw upon your inner Perry Mason and your crime drama, and I want you to challenge these people to look at any other accusation of criminal activity and how it's handled. Because there's really no reason why this should be handled any differently. It doesn't matter how much money is involved and how powerful people are, or how distant or out of your life it seems. this is bizarre. Oh, looks like something might have shown up at the door like food. Is it?
No, buenas tardes.
No quieres. Adios. What the hell is that? A salesman of some sort? Wow. With a face mask going door to door. Gosh, that's bizarre. Buenas tardes. Anyway, okay, I'm sorry for the distraction. Yeah, that was a distraction. Kind of forgot where I was. What was I talking about? Come back and tell me. What was I talking about just now? Before the guy knocked on the door? Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, you. Talking to you. You're not listening? Okay, never mind. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my... Oh, look, there's all kinds of interesting people listening tonight. I should bring you all in. Wow. It looks like we may be doing a simulcast at the same time, so I want to welcome all those people from the other network that are here. And please, please let us know if there's anything that we can do for you, of course. And let me see if Bobby wants to come in here. I know he always has something to say. Here he is. Which one should I use, Bob? One's green. I guess I'll use the green one. I'm sure RD would like to come in and help me reiterate what's going on. Let me get Bob's perspective here. If he picks up. All right, Bob.
Evening.
Oh, wow, you got your audio working all wonderful. Look at that.
How are you doing? So far,
the
the show's been pretty good.
You're relaxed and everything. You're not on a bus, I take it, huh? Obviously. You're not cruising around town in the bus. So, what's going on, Bob? What happened? Oh, it looks like I lost him already. That's wild. Let's see if I can get him back in here. There he is. Yeah. That was wild. Must have been pushing the wrong button, of course. Wasn't me. That wasn't me, Bob. What'd you do?
Yeah, let's try this again.
God, man.
Okay, now we're good.
Okay, all right. So anyway, what's going on there, Bob?
Well, I'm just, I saw a video today in Oklahoma. There was some kind of council meeting, and they were talking about the possibility of forced vaccinations, and you're going to get a certain bracelet. They found all these cases and cases of delivery of these bracelets. Uh-huh. So that seems to be that'll be your certification, so you can travel.
Your mark of the beast will be this bracelet, huh? Wow.
Yeah. I'm surprised they're not putting it on the head, but
isn't that insane? You know?
Yeah, and then they say, they're going to be cordoning off all the major to get away, all the roads. And, they're going to have buses there. Either you're going to take the shot, either you're going to take the vaccine, or we're going to put you on a bus to Camp FEMA or wherever.
Probably, huh?
Camp
Where was
Auschwitz.
This?
This was in Oklahoma. I saw it today. Then, what you were referring to, that all those doctors out there
right
yesterday, well, they came back today without masks. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple of hecklers that couldn't believe it. What are you doing without a mask? And they're talking about how we have the cure. They've all tried it. They have excellent results.
Well, you heard even Dr. Fauci said that the mask is stupid. He said that the best that a mask can do might stop one little speck that might hit you. In other words, like if somebody was to sneeze, it might stop one little droplet, but otherwise, forget it.
Yeah. One of the doctors described it as you have a chain link fence and you're going to try to stop sand and you throw sand at it.
Exactly.
Some of it. Yeah.
You might stop a single piece of it.
Or a few pieces, but not the whole thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, everything is getting to be crazier every week.
Only because people are waking up, all right? They're seeing through this bullshit. They keep throwing this bullshit out. Okay, you know what it is, Bob? You know how the Illuminati, when they do something, they always put it in front of our face like we're just a bunch of idiots and they can get away with it?
Like the Georgia Guidestones, yeah.
Yeah, like Georgia or the Simpsons and the 9/11 cartoons and and on and on and on and on, right? They and they go, look, they're trying to tell us, they're trying to warn us. Well, no, they figure if they put it in front of our face, it's like, haha, we're going to kill you. Then it's no karma on them because we're so stupid we let them do it.
Right.
That relieves them of the sin or whatever, the bad karma, the bad energy. That's what they think, of course. But I think that's changing.
A lot of people are waking up, but then again, there's a lot of COVIDiots around.
COVIDiots. COVIDiots. Bob came up with COVIDiots. That's funny, Bob.
Yep.
Okay, who came up with that? Did you come up with that?
I think I did.
COVIDiots. COVIDiots.
But, what are you going to do? Okay, I was at a Sprouts last week.
Yeah.
Right after I spoke with you, and I had my mask, but my friend that was with me had it below his nose, and it was like a bulldog coming out.
Yeah.
And that guy, and they kicked him out of a car
because he pulled his down below his nose. I
just wanted to get to my, check out and leave.
Oh, wow.
But it was horrible, just horrible. These people are so. Everybody's damaged.
It's going to get worse. But the sad thing is, I'll tell you something else. I was at the store today. I was at a Home Depot and I was looking around to try to find like hand soap, because I heard you can't get that stuff anymore. And what I'm seeing is that there's all these new products out there which are supposedly antibacterial disinfectants. So suddenly, instead of just washing your hands, now you're going to use some disinfectant cream thing that is going to cost like $29 a gallon. In other words, it's like you can't buy isopropyl alcohol, but you can certainly buy a hand cleaner at $39 a gallon or whatever, some ridiculous price. So yeah, crazy stuff.
Everything, the economic part. Look, I went to the Beverly Center today. I went to Cedars-Sinai to visit a friend. They wouldn't let me because he already had 2 visitors today. You're only supposed to have 1, so the third one I got kicked out. So I went across the street to say, I'm going to kill time and go to the Beverly Center. It was closed. The whole Beverly Center is closed.
You're surprised? Well,
yeah, I thought they opened things back up. But I guess they closed them back.
Closed back down, yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Well, outdoor. If you have a restaurant or something and you have an outdoor seating, or you can set up tent in the parking lot or something like this, they're letting us get away with that. That's what I'll do tonight. I'll go sit outdoors and I'll pay for indoor prices to sit outdoors, but it's okay.
Right? No, it that is good. Thank God that we're doing that. However, I know Yelp had a survey across the country, and 50% of the restaurants are closed permanently.
Yeah. Well, they have to. What are they going to do? It's they're killing our economy. But again, this brings us back to this whole thing that I've been trying to tell people is this is one big, huge pump and dump, and Trump, it's like, did you really think he was going to get elected? Did you think our country would be in any shape when this is over? It's just like you take any one of those con men living in Trump Tower and you look at their MO and the way what they did. It's no different. When these guys are done, there's not going to be anything left. And and this thing is, it's like, for instance, you look at the fall of the Soviet Union. Okay, it's the same thing. This is how a pump and dump works. The Soviet Union was the same thing. They got the government to spend tons and tons and tons of money on building stuff. Then they destroy the government and they privatize and take all the stuff the government built. So in other words, all the money that the government had that went into building these projects has now become the property of the oligarchs. And this is the same thing they want to do here. Exactly.
Yeah, all the rich guys, like you say, are getting a lot wealthier.
Yeah, the oligarchs. We've got oligarchs too.
Now, did you see any of the hearing between Amazon? Yeah, I had Amazon and Facebook, Google. Apple,
Turning
you know,
what?
they had a whole thing yesterday on antitrust. And,
Anti-Trump?
Antitrust. You know, to try to break them up or
Oh,
investigate it.
Now who's doing? Well, you know, Trump said he was going to do this. He was going to go after these guys. He flat out with the whole Twitter business. So certainly they have to work together. Now, basically, what you're talking about is the social media giants, right?
Also, well, Apple, I guess, social media, Apple.
Well, that's ridiculous. Come on, Apple. You know, seriously.
Amazon.
Where do these people get off? You know, it's crazy.
But the thing about Amazon, it's a good product. I mean,
you know, it's like trying to tax the automakers because the buggy whip people are going out of business. It's, you know, it's preposterous. You know, okay, here, let me just throw something out at you, okay? Let's talk about fairness, okay? Now,
okay.
If you want to talk about reality and you want to talk about law and you want to talk about what they should do is recognize the patent for the technology for encrypted transmissions, such as encrypted streaming. And if you did that, all those entities, every single one of them would not exist because all of their money would have to go to the inventor. Okay? So in other words, I can't really cry for these people when you start saying, well, we're going to antitrust, in other words, think about it. Ultimately, the fascist government, the police state, the party, whatever you want to call it, is going to take it over. They have to. That's just the way it is. They're going to absorb it. And these corporations, these wealthy people that are owning these things, think about that for a second. Are they really being hurt, and are they really not involved in this? It's sort of like when you're part of the club and the time comes, they said, okay, you knew this day was going to come. It's time for you to do something that we want you to do. And this is the big thing. And it's just like they could ask them, you're going to die tomorrow. We're going to execute you, and we're going to use your death to get achieve some goal. It's the same thing. When the time comes, they have to do it. And this is the price that they pay for having all that money and all that power and that lifestyle. It comes with the territory. So we can't complain. But once again, if you want to be fair, pay my brother for inventing all this crap.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, we have Elon Musk. I was right after the earthquake. I got up. And then I watched the launch of the Mars mission, where they're going to have a helicopter flying around Mars.
Yeah.
In 7 months, maybe that's going to be the big deal.
A drone. They're going to have a drone flying around.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like fun. It'll probably be great, huh? Great footage.
Well, great footage, but when they find artifacts, if they do,
well, they'll probably, come on. There'll be a lag. They'll be able to... Dude, okay, let me, first of all, you know what happens when something lands on Mars that compromises stuff? They destroy it. Many, many, many missions have gone to Mars and have not gotten too far. Something happened to them right at the last second. It's usually because they're about ready to, see something they weren't supposed to see. So I'm sure the entities that are there aren't, they're going to be able to deal with a little drone flying around if it ever got close enough to, pose a problem. Don't you think?
Now there were, and there also China and the United Arab UAE. They had their first big thing, and I think that was David Adair helped them with that.
It's a long march
to Mars. Yeah, he's
Chinese?
helping. Yeah,
he's
not helping. He's helping the Arabs.
Oh, the Arabs. Okay. Well, the Arabs, of course, are going to use working with the Chinese, and of course, that's a Silk Road initiative, probably trying to get these guys involved and stuff like that. And that is not going to end well for the Arabs. They're lucky the rocket didn't blow up and destroy their device. I mean, that sort of thing happens all the time. But yes, the Chinese have expressed an ambition to dominate in the space race, and certainly they look at that as an opportunity to, beat us, so to speak. But again, with COVID and this crash that is in the process of taking place, I don't really think they're going to be doing much of anything. I mean, you got to understand.
What about the floods?
Let me just put it this way: the flood. The flood is really bad. But here's the thing, just to put it in perspective. I don't know if I've said this, but there's no toilet paper in China. Okay, you know, if you're a Westerner and you go to China, you better pack some. Don't go anywhere in China without bringing one of those little packets of Kleenex with you, because you may find yourself squatting over a hole with no toilet paper, okay? And this is what you're going to do. You're going to end up using your sock or your underwear. So if you want to avoid having to do that, bring some paper with you. So the point of what I'm trying to tell you is, how can a country that can't even provide toilet paper for its tourists, let alone its people, ever claim to be a world power, let alone an imperialist power capable of taking on a country like the United States, where you could go to any gas station in the middle of BFD, Arizona, and expect to find a roll or two of toilet paper in the head? It may be a little disgusting toilet, but it's not going to be a hole in the floor. It's going to be a porcelain-ass toilet, and there's going to be some toilet paper in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
there's a reason why they don't have that in China. It's for the same reason they don't have any wild animals in China, and that's because the people will steal it, they'll eat it, they'll consume it. They're so greedy and so selfish that if it's there, they're going to take it, because that's something they're not going to have to buy.
Maybe that's why they want to get into Hong Kong.
Well, they're already in Hong Kong. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. Well, bring him.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, they already are. Well, of course, but man, no. I don't know what's going on there inside Hong Kong. I should really talk to my Chinese lady friend.
That's just the base of the mafia over there, and of course the country is all mafia, so it's really hard to say what's going on. But as far as what's going on in Hong Kong is mostly just a consolidation of control from the Communist Party over the quasi-autonomous people of Hong Kong. That's all. But that's the same thing with like Mongolia or Tibet or not Kyrgyzstan. I always get it wrong. You know, where the Uyghurs. I get their name wrong too. Uyghurs. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Uyghurs.
Yeah, I think Uyghurs. Yeah, something like that. The Muslim people that live up there by Kyrgyzstan. Those guys way up there. There's so much persecution, and the thing is like we talked about the Soviet Union briefly and what it was like, the pump and dump. Well, probably China is on the verge of a pump and dump too. I know China's got oligarchs, but what's probably going to happen is if the Communist Party does take a big dump, and they can do this without ridiculous amounts of bloodshed, obviously because the People's Liberation Army is very dangerous. I would say that we'll see something very similar to what we saw in the USSR, which was probably more of a pure Marxism. The Soviet Union was certainly more of a pure Marxist country than what the China is today. China is communist in name only. The only thing that's communist about China is that they have a single-party totalitarian regime. Otherwise, it's an incredibly greedy capitalist country. And the sad thing about that country is, like I said, during the Cultural Revolution, if you had any brains at all, they killed you. So that means there's really, I'm sure they've had a lot of great technological advances, but for the most part, they killed off an entire generation of smart people, the brightest people in the country. They just killed them off. So how could you expect to compete with stupid stuff like that?
Oh, yeah, millions in the army.
Yeah. For what reason? I don't know. Anyway. Well, the army, again, remember, we're talking about a country that can't afford toilet paper, okay? So seriously.
I just remember Tiananmen Square.
Tiananmen Square is a good example, but here's the thing. Your average Chinese soldier gets gear, right? They give, your top of the line, whatever, your Chinese troop is going to get about $1,500 worth of gear. This is his weapons and everything, helmet, all that stuff. Your average American soldier gets about $18,000 worth of gear. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. How's the Chinese soldier going to compete with that? It doesn't matter how many of them there are. They're not equipped as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, let's see. We might see a battle, huh?
Well, there's certainly, let me put it this way. The powers that be would not be pushing for it if they didn't think it would end in very poor way for the ones that they're challenging. And it's like I said, going into the South China Sea and doing what they're doing in there, that's pretty ballsy. Given, I mean, basically, China we called their bluff. All right, they flinched. Okay, they said don't do it, and we did it, and that's what's going on. And here's the thing also. When you look at, say, in China, the greed mentality and the way they look, it's all about face and connections. Donald Trump is like a superstar to those people. And if you're Jewish, you're like a superstar to those people. So obviously that makes Donald Trump even a bigger superstar to those people. It's mostly because he represents everything they want to be. Ridiculously greedy, wealthy, with ostentatious amounts of excessive wealth and attitude and face and all of that. That's what they live for. So in other words, that's like being a god. That's as high as they can get in their society, is to achieve that kind of status. And for a person of that stature, that type of makeup to become the leader of this country, it's like, in other words, the respect that China felt for Donald Trump when he was elected didn't really have a lot to do with his being the president of the United States. It had more to do with the fact that he had purchased that position through the unbridled, greedy acquisition of money, because that's exactly what they want to do. Okay. And in China, of course, the old way to do this was through connections in the Communist Party, and it's still the way it's done. And of course, Donald Trump has nothing to do with the Communist Party, but they still revere him because he's Jewish, and they think that these people are just as brilliant and excellent at saving money and getting wealthy. And but I think I would have to say that has changed somewhat because of obviously they still respect him with that, but he's become more of an adversary now because of his rhetoric and because of what he said, calling this COVID the China virus, and obviously the way he's directed the Navy to go into the South China Sea the way they have. These are all provocations. So ultimately, again, that's sort of like a business deal too. You're going to come in there and you're going to impress them, and you're going to give them, you're going to pump it up, and then you're going to pull the rug out. And that's what I think he's doing to the United States and the rest of the world. That's what I think.
Yeah, I'm getting to our politics. I just don't know if Biden's got enough gas to even get to November.
Oh, Biden is a complete idiot, and it's amazing that you could see it's so obvious that someone has basically coached him into keeping his mouth shut, keeping his face as straight as possible, and to try to be as serious as possible, not be a clown. And the sad thing is that he actually, in spite of the fact that we can't believe what the polls say, it actually looks like he's the winner right now. And that's just incredible. And again, let's not forget, Trump is trying to kill the election right now. He's trying to say that he needs to stall it. Where in the hell does one of the contenders have any sway whatsoever in deciding when the contest takes place? It's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, it's crazy times.
And telling us that they keep pumping him with this bullshit propaganda that somehow ballots that we stick in our mailbox are somehow going to be compromised. I already said that that's absolute bullshit, because it's like, if the mailbox had nothing in them but ballots, that may be, even then it would be theoretically impossible to have an impact on all those mailboxes out there across the country. It's just flugging ridiculous.
Yeah, but anybody in the household could pick up the
anybody,
the
but you're still
ballot and
talking about
vote and send it in.
Yeah, but
Hey, son, where's that ballot? Oh, I don't know, Dad.
do the same thing at the damn polling stations with the no ID and all that crap. It doesn't matter. It's like, come on, dead people are voting, all that shit. In other words, there's so many heinous examples of, people taking advantage of the system that for somebody to come along and say that one of the most safest and most, standard ways of doing this process, sticking your ballot in the mail, I mean, my God, for that to suddenly become questioned is just pathetic. It's just pathetic. And then they come out with reasons. It's like, come on, man, it's brainwashing. There's absolutely, the odds are fucking slim.
Well,
it's
all
like
the party has to do
all
is
right, look at it this way. Donald Trump is famous for giving people fear to think that there's some immigrant or some enemy Democrat, black person, Mexican, whatever, take your pick, that is going to be abusing the system because they lack Republican morals, and they're going to be living in some squalor where they're going to be in a position to receive multiple ballots in the mail. And of course, they're going to violate the sanctity of the mail and take every single one of those ballots and check Biden and mail them back in. This is what Donald Trump is trying to tell us is going to happen. Now, it's ludicrous. Come on, it's just ludicrous. And here's the other thing about mail-in ballots, and this is a big deal, is that there are a lot of Americans that still vote from abroad. Even with COVID, there's still Americans out there that vote from abroad, and they use mail-in ballots. Okay, so to question this mail-in ballot bullshit is to wipe out a huge segment of our voters. So this is bullshit. And the very fact that Donald Trump has to even say this shit shows what a pathetic weakling he is, who's already lost the race. I mean, my God, the bottom line, the American economy is down 30%. We haven't had anything like this in history, and there's no fucking way that Donald Trump could get reelected under such circumstances. There's absolutely no way. You know what I'm saying? It's no way. It's like we practically had World War III take place because he caused it. All right? And it doesn't really matter. It's that the bottom line is his leadership failed. And it's unfortunate because Biden's not a leader either. He's a weak old pedophile. But you know what? He's not a billionaire. And we don't need another.
He's not a thinker or a talker. He can't put two sentences together. How's he going to friggin' lead? How's he going to lead? It's ridiculous.
Probably about the same way Hillary Clinton would lead. Come on, man. You think fucking Donald Trump is leading? Hello. What's the issue here?
Come on, Biden is nowhere near.
You know what? The closer these
beings.
fuckers fail, the sooner we will get our fucking mission completed. Come on, dude. In other words, if they keep bringing out people that you think are going to somehow save the day, then we're never going to get anywhere because we know damn well it's just a Band-Aid and they're never going to do shit.
Yeah, well,
so as soon as you think they've done a good job, we've lost. All right? Come on, man. Trump, look, go back 3 years minimum. And remember, Trump has not brought the children up the technology or the gold from the bottom of the Getty. Okay? That hasn't happened. That makes him the enemy. Period. You know what? That's it. He's not on our side.
But Hillary and Biden are the ones that are actually eating the kids. They're eating the kids. They're the ones that are perpetrating this whole thing.
Oh, no, Bob. We cut it out. They're not the ones perpetrating. You sound like an idiot when you say stupid shit
like
that.
Come on. You want to see that Huma Abedin and Hillary Clinton video?
Oh, my God. Fuck. He's talking about, you know what? So what? Just because they don't have video of Trump fucking eating children. Come on. Who cares? Doesn't fucking matter. You think one demon is better than another demon. It's all bullshit. God. He's got billions of dollars. He's, my God. He's a little better at cleaning up his tracks. He's got people to handle that for him. My God. Hillary and those guys don't have that. My God, they're petty criminals. Stop comparing petty criminals to mega criminals, okay? There's a reason why they're not president. There's a reason why this one that is president is going to kill the election, okay? So, a big Hitler, little Hitler, whatever. They're all fucking Hitlers, okay? The sooner we realize that, and the sooner we stop electing these Hitlers, it'll be all better. Oh, look at that, 7:30. I'm going to go ahead and end it, folks, so I can get the hell out of here sooner, than later. Only because you don't mind. I know some of you like the earlier shows. Let me just give us a shout out first of all. Oh, the people who are listening. Let's see. We have Thailand right at the top. Who's that meowing? That's a cat, right? We got Hacienda Heights. How you doing? Santa Ana, Chicago. Yo, Carrie, is that you? Did you hear what I said, right? You need to contact me. Not tonight, but soon, okay? I need you to do some stuff. Cypress, Texas. Hey, Winnipeg, Ontario, or Manitoba. Sudbury. Ann Arbor, Chicago again. Pittsburgh. Buffalo. United Kingdom. Eli. I don't know where that is. Leo Minister, Palmyra High, Hacienda, Mexico, Romania, Mexico, Pittsburgh, Edmond, Oklahoma. Hey, Oklahoma. You'll have to verify whether or not that's true. We heard, hey, Los Angeles, Decatur, hi. Queen Creek, hey, dude. Ladera, hi. Nashville, hi. We had some bizarre healing, Nashville, huh? Or no, that was Georgia. That's right. Okay, San Marcos, California, Tucson. Anyway, there's a bunch of you out there. But I do want to thank you for sticking around. And I do want to remind you guys, again, since so many of you do watch the YouTube videos, since so many more of you seem to be watching the YouTube videos, please do what you can to share this stuff as much as you can, because that's the legwork that needs to be done. Okay, and I need you guys to do it, all right? So just get used to doing this extra work, and please do more, okay? Make those Facebook pages, a whole bunch of them, Twitter pages, whatever. Just make a whole bunch of them, okay? And don't wait for me to do the work. You're going to have to do it. And answer those questions for those people. And be confident and challenge them, okay? When someone asks you a question, ask them a question back. Say, how do you know there's children over there? It says, well, look, if I said there's children in your backyard and told the police, would they go dig up your backyard? Well, why don't they dig up under there? Anyway, what else I want to tell you? As you mentioned, those of you that do contribute, I appreciate it. Obviously, we're not really doing too great as far as, like our trying to build, billboards, but who knows, we might get there. We might get an angel come along and drop some ridiculous amount of fundage on us, but until that happens, we're going to keep doing what we're going to do, and we use social media, and we're going to use our fourth density sides to continue to screw them up. I don't see a problem. I think that we're doing good. I really do think that we're seeing a exponential increase in our mission. So, and that's thanks to you people and all the efforts that you guys have put out. So, don't stop. Keep doing it. What else I want to tell you? Send money? Nah. Yeah. If you want to send money, again, PayPal, StephenKelley714@gmail.com. Please say that it's for a friend or family so that they don't take their little bit. And what else? Main thing is you guys start telling your friends. But at the same time, remember, if you're getting a lot of resistance, don't fight it, okay? Don't make trouble. It's not worth the alienation at this point. You need to move on to the next person. But at the same time, if you do this skillfully, I think you'll find that seeds that you plant will spring forth pretty quickly, because the environment right now and the conditions are such that people are ready. They're ready for this message, and they're ready to use their anger and their frustration and focus it in a direction that's actually going to do something. So let's continue to give them that place and that direction. And let's continue to focus on the Getty. And once again, if you do need me, law17gun@AOL.com. If you need healing, send me a message. If you want to be a Jedi, send me a message or an email. And if you want a copy of the book, just send me an email. So if you want to do all three at the same time, it's okay too. Just make sure you include your photo. Alrighty. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Okay? And I'll talk to you all next week. I do hope you enjoyed our, what was it? We've been doing this for an hour and a half here, a little over. And that should do it. Okay? All right. Once again, good night. God bless. Adios. And goodbye.